Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2002 Saturn SL2. Up front is a 1.9 liter inline 4, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now I'm super excited to be driving this SL2 for two reasons. First of all, I have driven a Saturn SL series before, but it was an SL1, meaning a single overhead cam vehicle. This is the dual overhead cam, couple more bells and whistles here and there, and so I'm always excited to show off another Saturn since Saturn no longer exists. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 1.9 liter under the hood. Well, it makes about 124 horsepower, give or take. And like I said, this was the dual cam version of the SL engine. So the normal SL and SL1 were more economy oriented. They were very economical, lower horsepower, lower torque, sort of dog engines. Well, this got the dual overhead cams and a hefty bump in power. So in terms of sportiness, this was pretty high performance for the Saturn brand. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 4-speed automatic, nothing too crazy there, and this did get a more sport-oriented transmission gearing as opposed to the SL and SL1, but still a 4-speed. However, you could find these in manual if that's what you wanted, and that does make it feel a little bit sportier. Last but not least about the drivetrain of the SL2 is, of course, the fact that it is front-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the SL2? Well, it definitely packs a bigger punch than the SL1. It feels more lively in terms of the way that it revs. In terms of the transmission, I still prefer the manual. I think that's always going to be the case. But if you do want the power, the SL2 is the way to go. Otherwise, visibility is pretty good out the front and sides. Steering isn't too heavy, not too light. Feels very Honda Civic, Mazda 323, that sort of thing. And I think the driving dynamics really rivaled the imports of the era. Although this is not an import, this was actually built down in Tennessee. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me is a gauge cluster. This is not the original gauge cluster. This is from a Pontiac Torrent. However, this is the factory gauge cluster in case you were curious. Nice, simple, and I think it looks more modern than 2002. On the steering wheel, we have our cruise control buttons down to the bottom, and it's a very low slung cruiser oriented steering wheel. Makes me want to kick back and have a good one. Off to the left, we do have our gauge dimmer switch, fog lights, and traction control, as well as a vent. And moving on to the door, we have our lock and unlock and latch to get in and out. Moving into the center, we do have these two climate vents, but also just this kind of dead space. And with the SL2 being a higher trim, I wish that they put something here, but I guess not the end of the world. Down below, we have an aftermarket radio, because any radio from this era won't keep up with modern tech. And then we have our climate controls. Very simple, fan speed in the center, temperature off to the left, where to send it off to the right, and that's it. Moving down the center console, we do have a 12-volt outlet off to the left and a sort of cubby cup holder thing to the right, but we're not going to be testing that one today. The shifter is plain and simple, nothing new here. Push button off to the left to get it in and out of gear, and that controls the 4-speed. Then we have our window switches. So kind of interesting to see them here in the center. Saturns did this, and I'm not totally sure why. Some say for interior space, some say to rival the imports, whatever it might be. The mirror controls are off to the right as well, and our window locks. Then we have our handbrake and another cup holder, so we will big friggin' bottle test the 2002 SL2, and just like the SL1 that came before it, it does in fact pass. Little center console and the seats. The seats are cloth. However, I like the pattern. It's a very nostalgic pattern, and they are very comfortable. Again, this was a very affordable car, high teens when it came to the price tag, which wasn't terribly crazy in the 1990s, and so they're comfortable in that regard. They don't punish you for getting the lower end seats, and I like that a lot. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2002 Saturn SL2, and a couple of things to note. First of all, I do have window switches, but they're like up on the door next to the handle, which is kind of weird. These seats do fold down as well in a 60-40 split. I do have little tiny cup holders down here, but overall, pretty standard back seat. I fit in here okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. However, I do want to do a little social experiment. How many of you have used one of these or know what this is? I'll let the comment section decide, or tell me, I guess. Very fun. Let's hop into the very back and talk about the trunk. Here's the trunk of the SL2. Nothing really too crazy to see back here. It's fine, it does the job, and it's actually a decent size for an economy car. You gotta keep that in mind. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've always loved the look of Saturns because you don't see them anymore, and it's always a treat whenever you get to lay your eyes upon these beautiful automobiles. Do I think that they're outwardly very pretty? Would they win a design contest? Do I want to see them strutting the runway at the next Gucci or Prada fashion show? No. I think their cheeks look a little chubby, but mine are too, so I'm not one to point fingers. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Saturn SL2? Well, there are big benefits over the SL1 that I drove. Would I take the manual transmission? Of course. But the engine is a lot happier, and the features in here are a lot more livable or easy to live with than in the SL1. This just feels like a better car. However, that still doesn't mean that you had to break the bank. That's what I loved about Saturns. And this being a 2002 means that this was the last S car to come out of Saturn. They had the SC, they had the SL, but that entire bloodline came to an end in 2002 when they started to switch over to the Ion and the Saturn Vue, and the last leg of Saturn's journey, if you want to call it that. And I think this car is really good. I would prefer this over an Ion, at least of equivalent trim. I haven't driven an Ion Redline yet. This car is simple, it's basic, and it doesn't feel like it's trying to punish me at every chance it gets. The Chevy Cavalier of the same era is a cheap car, and you knew it. You knew it right off the bat. But Saturn just felt different. Saturn has always felt like the girl next door. Maybe not the prettiest girl you've ever met, but there's a homely feeling about her. And there's a comfort in knowing her for so long. That's what Saturns feel like. It's the home team. It's the Cubbies, baby. And that's why I was so excited to get back behind the wheel of another Saturn here today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to CJ for letting me take out his Saturn SL2. CJ's been absolutely wonderful, and I'm out here in Auburn, Indiana for the Saturn Midwest meet of 2024 that happened on April 20th, 2024. Really cool show. I'm showing some footage here. An awesome, fantastic group as well. So if you are into Saturns or if you own a Saturn yourself, you got to come check out this show next year. It's an absolute must, and I can't recommend it enough. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.